Ra created Sekhmet out of his own rage. He took his rage and he personified it, and he created a spirit, a goddess, out of his rage. But when it was no longer controlled and it was not a controlled force, it had to be transformed. Sekhmet. I don't know if you guys have heard the name. She's fearless, she's powerful, she's lustful. And I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about bloodlust. She is also even known as the forgotten esoteric one, because why do y'all keep forgetting her? It's very disrespectful. And I would even argue that she might even be the actual embodiment of feminine rage. She is Sekhmet. She's the Egyptian goddess created by Ra, and she is one of the most powerful. And today we're going to be talking about her. Welcome. Hopefully this becomes your happy place, your safe space, your zen. My name is T. Monet. If you're a spiritual girly and you want to sip on your tea and you want to talk about all things spiritual, then come hither, child. I want to thank Black Witch Yaya, who gave me the inspiration to start this series. One of the most significant goddesses of ancient Egypt, Sekhmet was a deity who was typically depicted as a female with a lioness head. We love lions. Her name can literally be translated and interpreted as powerful or the female powerful one. And Sekhmet was known to be the goddess of destruction, healing, justice, war, the desert winds and the desert breezes, magic, hell, heaven, plagues and illnesses, cures, medicine. Sekhmet obviously has a lot of duality to her. The form of Sekhmet was usually depicted as a lioness woman who wore a lot of red linen. The color of Sekhmet and the color she is associated with is, if you haven't noticed, red. She would wear a reyes, which is a staff-like thing, and a disc on her head. There are a lot of amulets that depict her as seating or standing. She would also be depicted holding a papyrus-shaped scepter. We love that. There are so many archaeological sites and just amulets that have been discovered in history, but for thousands of years, that let us know that the ancient goddess was very popular and prevalent in her time. Confirmation is everywhere. And if you're here on this video, that is confirmation. So let's see, why did Sekhmet choose you, or why are you choosing her? Let's get deep into it. Sekhmet is the daughter of Ra. And to be more specific, Ra actually created Sekhmet, and he created her with the purpose of sending her down to the humans to practically destroy them. He was not happy with how the humans were operating. In particular, there were laws at that time. The laws were called the laws of Ma'at. And the laws of Ma'at at the time were just the Egyptians' codes of honor and conduct. So in Christianity, this would also be the 10 Commandments. And a lot of people argue that the 10 Commandments were actually developed from a lot of the laws of Ma'at. Now, the thing about Sekhmet is that when she went down to the lands, to the humans, to go destroy them, she ravaged everything. She had bloodlust. Just straight bloodlust. Now, I do want you guys to understand that Sekhmet is not a being that just destroys things. She only destroys beings out of justice. Justice is heavily prevalent and associated with Sekhmet. She is huge on justification, obeying, and making sure that you are being consistent and just making sure that you're being the person that you said you are. And so because of the humans were not following the laws, she felt this heavy sense of justice. It brought out her bloodlust. She wanted to ravage them. How dare you be dishonest and untruthful? That is unjust, and you must burn for it. That's kind of like what she was. So she was ravaging them, y'all. She was ravaging them. And Ra was like, yo, girl, okay, I'm gonna need you to stop now. I need you to calm down. I need you to stop before you unalive every single one of these humans. And she's like, Dad, I don't care. You sent me down here with a purpose. I found my purpose. So anybody I find unjust will be eradicated. And so he could not stop her bloodlust. There were going to be no humans at all. And that was not the purpose that Ra had set her down for. He did not say destroy all of mankind. He just wanted her to destroy the mankind that was not following the laws of Ma'at. But she saw them all as unjust and unfit. And she saw that they were all in some way not following the laws. Now, Ra had to come up with a way that he could get Sekhmet's bloodlust to calm down so that he can get her from not destroying everything and everybody. Ra had even all other people, other beings, other gods, other deities, like, yo, calm her down, please. Like, keep her from eradicating all of the humans. They were literally begging him to, like, get her to stop. And she would not. She was not listening to anybody. She was not listening to him. And he could not convince her to just calm down. He couldn't convince her. He had literally created a force of destruction. So what Ra ended up having to do is that he got this thing. It's called a vat. And he got this vat of beer and he dyed it red because he wanted to trick her. And this happens in a lot of stories in Egyptian mythology and also in other mythology where they have to trick certain gods and goddesses just to get them to calm down, which is real crazy. But he dyed it red so that it would mimic blood, so that the blood would then attract her, because with her bloodlust, she was literally going after anything that was blood. So Sekhmet ended up mistaking this thing of beer, which I meant to mention, Sekhmet did like alcohol. So she ended up mistaking this thing as the enemy's blood. She got by Ra, he tricked her, she drank it, drank all of the beer, thinking that this was the blood of her enemies. She got drunk, y'all. She got drunk and she fell asleep, put her in a deep sleep. She never woke up as Sekhmet ever again. Instead, she woke up and she was transformed into the goddess Hathor. And the thing about it is Ra created Sekhmet out of his own rage. He took his rage and he personified it, and he created a spirit, a goddess, out of his rage. But when it was no longer controlled and it was not a controlled force, it had to be transformed. So the thing about Sekhmet is she was still never really forgotten, at least back in ancient Egypt. She was actually considered one of the most powerful deities at that time, and she was hugely popular. She was known as the smiter of Nubians, which is crazy. But she was also well known for bringing disasters and diseases and plagues as well. But not only that, a lot of people forget that Sekhmet had a lot of duality, and they also forget even her esoteric prowess. The fact that she was a very magical being. Sekhmet did not just rule over death and destruction. This being and this feminine energy also brought life. She brought medicine. She brought healing. She brought cures. A lot of medicinal doctors back then, and even a lot of priests, would invoke Sekhmet during their sessions. If an ancient doctor back then wanted to heal somebody and they were having a hard time healing them, they would invoke Sekhmet. Priests would invoke Sekhmet. You had even the military, when they wanted to win a war, they would invoke Sekhmet. A lot of plagues that happened back then were known as messengers of Sekhmet. A warning. And sometimes they were also referred to as slaughterers of Sekhmet. I don't think that's just a warning. The way that she can bring desert winds to destroy, she could also deflect them from destroying her people. In the same way that she could bring a plague to destroy, she could also cure and heal any plagues that were destroying her people. She's known as the Lady of the Flame because Sekhmet was also said to have been able to breathe fire like a dragon. And it was also said that like Ra had Sekhmet placed at his brow, and that when he would go into battles, Sekhmet would be the one shooting flames at the enemies. So there are a lot of symbols that are associated with Sekhmet that you may have come across. She is symbolized a lot of times by lions, cats, and the sun. So if you have an altar These are really great symbols to have on that altar. Serpents and cobras are also things that are symbolized by Sekhmet, so these are also things that you can use in association with her. So if you are repeatedly having dreams about these symbols, that is 100% an indication that she's coming to you directly. Mine were in meditations, mine was in the channeling sessions, yours might be in those forms as well. You're like consistently seeing these symbols come up, they're on your timeline, your algorithm, your feed. That might be an inkling that Sekhmet is calling to you. Now, this is so interesting when I read this. So it said, if you feel a powerful, intimidating, and protective energy, like that is Sekhmet. I'm going to tell you guys right now, when Sekhmet is around, it feels heavy. I came across her, I knew she was a benevolent force because I felt that protection. I was like, this is just a being that knows their power. They know who they are and they are not afraid to stand in that power. And that is intimidating. But I know they're not trying to harm me. And they were making that clear. They are not here to harm me. And it does feel feminine, that warmth, that nurture, that it feels like her energy kind of hugs you. So they also say that the sudden urge to want to defend yourself, to get some offensive tools, learn martial arts, to want to fight, that can also be a symbol, that can also be just a notion, an indication that Sekhmet is calling to you and that you may be wanting to work with her. Now, if you want to work with her, here are some things that you should know when working with her, how to work with her, how to get started, what she likes, what she does not like, all of the ins and outs. Here are the 7 principles and laws of Ma'at that you guys should know if you do want to go work with her or seek her out. Truth, the ability to see between fact and fiction. Justice, the state of equity between all things. Harmony, the state of alignment and balance between all things. Balance, both within an individual and the outside world, so the physical realm and the metaphysical. Order, the state of clarity and lack of excess. Reciprocity, the acknowledgement that all things that go around will come around. And propriety, performing the actions to uphold all of the other laws. So if you want to make space for Sekhmet in your home, you want to give an altar, you definitely can make an altar. And here are some things that you're probably going to want to have on your altar to dedicate to Sekhmet. To create an altar, just the little tools that you guys can use. You can use a stool, you can use a table. It doesn't have to be anything too formal. A red cloth might be something you want to place down, or it's just something you can have on your altar table to dedicate to her. Adding a candle, preferably red, incense burner with red incense, red resin. Of course, a dish of water because your spirits like water. You can have an offering bowl. And then you can adorn it. You can decorate this with a lot of depictions and symbolism that are related to Sekhmet. So you have the lions, you have the scepter, you have the sun disk, you have red. You have even crystals that are related to her, like red carnelian, jaspers. There are herbs even associated with Sekhmet. You can also add other depictions like fire as well. Sekhmet is the type of goddess that loves action. She's very vital, very energetic. She was a warrior goddess, so she loves action, 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 which makes sense why I'm always creating action plans. But take a martial arts class, you can create action plans, you can join combat groups, you can become an activist, you can fight for social justice, join charities, and fight for the things that are right. Just in some way put action, and just put a lot of action towards the things that are all about upholding moral characters, and specifically the laws of Ma'at. Some offerings that you can give Sekhmet on your altar, or just in general, alcohol. As you know, she gets drunk, okay? She likes to drink, in particular beer. She loves that. You can even dye it red to make it seem like the blood of her enemies. You can give her red alcohols though, like red wine or something like that. She would very much appreciate that. You can give her things that are similar to blood. You can give her substitutes of blood, like there's something called the blood root. Dragon's blood incense, we talked about that. You can give that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You have now been zen'd, and I will see you next time.